Hi, this is sort of my first attempt at doing this sort of response, so a little bit different format, which I like the change in approach rather than just typing away. So I decided to challenge myself to do this video. Feels a little awkward, but here we go. So I'm going to hope that this works and talk about my experience in the class so far. I really liked that we started the class with the Hubble telescope and looking at the cosmos. At first I was sort of curious why we were bothering to talk about space when we should be talking about cells, but I really got a lot out of that, of appreciating the vastness of space, of seeing the Hubble telescope images of the universe, because it helped me to connect the vastness of space with really kind of the vastness of a cellular level, how little we know about space, and in many ways how little we know about the inner workings of the body in the cellular level. As we went into that, it certainly reminded me of the psalm that declares, "I am fearfully and wonderfully made," both the beauty of the stars and the incredible complexity and mystery of how the human body works and how the mind specifically functions. I think it's fascinating that we still know so little about the functions of the brain, but it's kind of exciting to start hearing about some of the frontiers there, and that'd actually be a piece of this class that if we haven't or is not planned, that I would really like to hear more of, is some of the recent developments of brain study, whatever you would call that, and so just how the new fields there and what we're starting to learn more of about the function of the brain. I remember talking with the psychiatrist for my son and talking about different medications, and he made the remark that for most of these medications we don't know even why they work. We just know that for most people they do. And I thought that was kind of scary and intriguing at the same time, that many of the drug discoveries have actually been accidental. They were trying to have a drug effect do one thing, but then they discovered, oh, this also works for this. Yeah, it seems like it's really trial and error in many cases. Which transitions to my next point, is that as we talked about the abusive treatments of the past, like ECT, I thought it was a little unfair that they just singled out ECT, and as we talked about in class, that the early drug use was also could be pretty terrible. So I think, then in the future, in 50 years, when classes are looking back at the past, I think that maybe drug therapy will be one of those videos that people look at and shake their heads of, like, oh, how primitive they were, and well, it sort of helped, but what we know now, obviously you wouldn't do that anymore. As we begin to learn more about how to stimulate the brain through electronic signals and things like neurofeedback, I think people will talk about using drug therapy where you flood the whole body with a chemical as pretty primitive. So, yeah, maybe there will be new treatment modalities that make drugs superfluous. I don't know. I do like the use of videos that we're using in the class. I think it's great to take advantage of just the abundance of presentations on YouTube and places like that. I think that it's good and bad, in the sense that while some of the videos are redundant, it kind of reinforces learning or helps you see it at another angle. But sometimes it's kind of like, okay, we're just repeating the same stuff, and it starts to get a little wearying. I don't know if I was just tired last week or if the videos were a little more redundant or basic, but felt like it was kind of dragging last week of being elementary and repetitive. One of the things I do really appreciate about this class so far is that I'm glad that we're able to share our personal stories of the interactions that we've had with medication as part of treatment of family or ourselves. To hear both the good and the bad stories, I think is important, because it helps me to keep in perspective that medication, like other forms of treatment, is not a one-size-fits-all, and that good interpersonal communication is still so critical when we're doing interactions with people around medication, to hear what their needs are, to hear what the effects are. And I know we don't prescribe and adjust, but I think that helping us help them to reconsider and not necessarily just surrender their volition of like, well, the doctor said I need to take these pills, but rather to empower them to be engaged in treatment, and maybe even helping them to do their own research about what the drugs are and pros and cons and side effects if they're still curious about that. So yeah, just being able to be an informed advocate feels very important, and I think will be the main takeaway of this class, just that I'm more aware of what the drugs are, what the effects are, and just have a working knowledge of that. So great experience so far. Looking forward to the rest of the class, and have a great day.